Hi friends, today we are actually going to do a quick craft. I know one of our last crafts was we made a wreath for the door, if you remember that. I'll link it below. And today we are going to do a door swag. If you don't know what a swag is, obviously I'm sure we have the more urban definition of swag, but a swag from a floral perspective really is just a creation that kind of hangs, usually in like a linear form. It could be vertical or horizontal, but it's not a wreath, it's not round. So you don't need a lot to do this today. We're doing something for spring. Feels like I just made the one for winter, but God knows we need spring with all the snow that the entire country is getting. Now, what you'll need today is a little bit of foam, a knife to cut the foam if you need to, glue to put in some floral that might be a little trickier, and possibly ribbon. You will need a ribbon. Again, just like the previous one, you can use as many ribbons as you like. I just chose this striped blue ribbon. A better option would be wired, but unfortunately this didn't come wired and I really wanted this color. So I'm going to use starch on it to create a bow. And this ribbon is 1.5 inches by 9 feet long. I did get 2 bolts of this as well. And you are, of course, are going to need an assortment of floral. I got a little bit of the lavender. I'm not really sure what this pink flower is. Some billy balls, some eucalyptus, a little bit of basic grass, and whatever this yellow flower is. Can you believe I'm a florist for trade, in my trade? A little bit of, obviously you can pick these exact colors, you can do something different. A little bit of this is from the Dollar Tree, a little bit is from Target. You can pick however many you want. I would suggest getting greenery. I wish I personally would have got a little bit more greenery as I was kind of practicing with this. So I would say get a decent amount. Obviously, if you don't use it, you can return it if you haven't cut it. But get a decent amount of greenery. And definitely aim for some different colors and different shapes. I used a lot of pastels, obviously, for spring. And obviously, I have different shapes. You obviously have a more linear form and a more round form. That creates a lot of interest and texture as well. So let's get started and put this together, shall we? Now let's get ready to start to put our project together. As you can see, I have my bundles of colors here, greenery over here. I did take another additional, I think it was 1.5 inches off of this. Again, that's completely up to you depending on how long you want your piece to be. I also have additional bundles over here because I didn't have enough table space for that. Now, your foam is going to be your center. Obviously, you won't be able to see it, so don't worry too much about it. But that will be your center, and our project will be working off either side of it. I'm going to try to aim for one side to be just a little bit longer, and that'll be kind of the bottom portion of it. But I'll see, because a lot of my pieces don't have varying lengths, so I may not be able to do that, but we will see. Now this is a good example where you'll need the glue. There's not really a pointed edge on this, so I will have to add glue to be able to adhere. And even better of an idea as well, kind of decide where you want to place it, make a little bit of a hole, and that's kind of like where the glue will set in. Right before I did this project, I literally burned the heck out of myself on this thing. Let's see, okay, we've got a few pieces, and I am going to go up, as you're doing this, you're not working completely down at one angle. What I mean by that is you're not just taking them all down here. You are going to extend some in other directions like that. And I will speed some of this video up as I go. Now, if you notice, I'm taking the ones that are extending off the sides a little shorter than the length of the long one. I'm just pushing it in further. I might go back a little later and possibly trim those down just a bit. Oh, I'll set like that. You can probably see it a little better. I tried to wear, obviously my wardrobe contains a lot of black, but I tried to make sure I wore black today, just so hopefully you can see this against it a little more. Now for depth, just like you added 2 going in either direction, make sure this goes a little forward. You want to kind of push some of your flowers forward. Because if you do put this on a door or something, you're definitely going to want some of the arrangements like moving away from the door, basically. And I'm going to do the same with the eucalyptus to create a sort of like a sort of like a bed for the flowers to rest on. And if you feel like you'll be able to see the greenery, don't worry, we are going to add ribbons and other decor to the center later, so that won't be as visible. As you can see here, I'm pretty much done with my greenery. You can see a lot of the foam, but trust me, as we fill it up with the flowers and then add the ribbon, it won't be viewable. As you can also see, I put a lot more weight towards the bottom. This is what I planned to be the bottom. The top is a little shorter. I did that with just cutting at an angle. You might have seen it in a little bit of the sped up portion of this. That's kind of the general shape we're going for. And I'm going to do the same thing with the flowers. Flower stems that are a little bit longer, which seem to be a lot of my yellow flowers, are going to extend lower at the bottom, and the top's going to be just a smidge shorter. But as I go through this step, I'm also going to put a little bit, just a few coming out the sides. Now I am going to, even though I have them in bundles, I am going to start with my yellow because that is my length, like I said. Now all of these flowers were pre-cut to the length that I needed. And don't be afraid as you are going along to actually work through it and change things up, move things around. Like you might have seen in the video, I just change out some of the eucalypt just to one side to the other, which you were totally allowed to do that. It's not like once you have it in, you're stuck. Unless you use the glue, of course. Then you might run into a little bit of a challenge. Now, something in this first batch, you might see I'm keeping them just a tad bit shorter on this side because I do want to create some depth. I'm going to go a little longer with these ones, and I'll show you how we do that in just a second. As you can see, I got most of the first batches done. I still have a little bit left over to show you what you can do next. Obviously you can see the yellow goes down, but a lot of this color in here does not, the pinks and the purples. So I'm going to show you how you can just use a little bit of glue to extend them and make them just a tad bit longer so they reach that length. Now unfortunately I won't be able to hold it up, so I'm hoping I can show you with it lying down. It's pretty easy, honestly. What you're going to do is just add a little bit of hot glue to the end and adhere it to another plant, but try your best to keep it hidden so somebody who's walking by doesn't see that stem just lying there against it. Just like that. And I'm going to put it probably against my yellow flowers just because the stem's a little thicker, it'll hold a little better. You can also do this with wire. The only problem with wire is that obviously you can see a little better, so you'd obviously want to use green or brown. But then you're also going to want to try to hide it, which is not impossible. Once you're done with this, you can easily manipulate the flowers around to hide anything like that. It's called like hiding the mechanics in the floral world. You don't want people to see like the things behind the scenes that make them like hold things up and whatnot. I was going to say make them beautiful, but they're beautiful on their own, obviously. And obviously the ends are going to be a little less dense, a little more sparse, and that's perfectly fine. Obviously, if you have, I'm sure you've caught on, but we're making almost like a bundle, essentially. It's called a swag, but a bundle is kind of like the image we're going for, like somebody, like you just went in the garden and you just picked up a bunch of flowers. Now, as you can see, here we are with our bottom piece. I think towards the end, once I start working on the top, I am going to add a few more flowers towards the bottom. But obviously you can see I brought down some of the pinks and the purples, and I add a little bit more of the grass. And now I'm going to start working on the top and just a little tiny bit on the sides. And once we add the ribbon, we'll be finishing this up. And I might add, like I said, I might add a few flowers, but we'll see once we get there. obviously it looks a little droopy. I still haven't put starch into it like I said I would. For this project, if you want to make it a little easier on yourself, you can use wired ribbon. It makes it a lot easier to hold its shape, but you can use starch towards the end, which is what I'm planning on doing with this ribbon. I wanted to create its shape so I would know exactly where I want the starch to be once I put it all together. Now to make this bow, I actually did that in another video, a little vignette, just a short little brief clip, because I figured you could use a bow for anything, so I wanted to kind of make that its own separate video, which I will link that either in the description or I'll put one of those cards up here at the top, just so you know how to do that. Now, obviously I added these 2 pieces on the end because that was important to that, I feel like, that clip, but I may not necessarily use them here. I have decided that I'm going to put the bow a little bit underneath the peony, because I personally love that, I'm not saying uneven effect, but it's not like asymmetrical effect, with a little bit more weight to one side is what I prefer. Now, like I said, I know I made those in the video clip of me making the ribbon. You will see I have added these on the back, but for this particular arrangement, that's not really necessary. So I'll probably, once they're glued down, either cut them off or it won't matter at all, honestly. Then obviously just hold it in with the hot glue. Super excited about this. I know it doesn't feel like spring at all. There's still snow. I'm in Chicago and there's still so much snow everywhere. It doesn't seem to be stopping, honestly. I'm so unfortunate what's happening in Texas. I know they're not prepared for it at all like we are up here in the Midwest. I've heard people, unfortunately, people have died down there during this, and that's just horrific. And so it does seem like I'm doing this a little bit early, but obviously it's a craft, so I want you guys to be prepared and make them in advance for when spring comes. And I also kind of have this hopeful mindset that if I make it, maybe it'll call in the new season. I mean, what a lot of old cultures used to do things because they believed it brought the season in and whatnot. Obviously, we know that doesn't work, but hey, I like to believe. We still look at a groundhog to tell us when winter's over, so maybe there is some truth.